All right, welcome in, everybody. 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. Here we are on yet another Monday morning. Not flying solo today, flying with, if you don't know him, by the time we're done today, you will know him. And he's quite the guy to know, my buddy Josh Sack. Josh, how you doing, bud?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So for those of you who don't know Josh, let's get a little background. Josh, tell us about yourself.
Okay. Started with the Bernardi Auto Group back in 1998. Came right out of college and went right into the car business. Parents were real thrilled about that, right? So spent 15 years in retail with that one group, salesperson, sales manager, built a beginning to end model BDC at our Acura store, and then a appointment setting where it was just me setting appointments at a decent sized Toyota store, and grew that to about 5 team members. So we were setting appointments for salespeople. And then I moved around within the group to help build BDCs and beginning to end models. Left there, went to what is now Digital Airstrike, which used to be Response Logic. Shout out to my people out there, because I know they're still all around. Still love those guys. And learned a lot about social media marketing, lead response, automation, CRM integration, technical debt in the car business, which we know there's plenty of that, and why things don't integrate. From there, I helped run Strawled, which is a centralized BDC. We had about 200 dealers for roughly 8 years. Just over the last year, decided to go out on my own and do my own thing. And now here you and I are, Sean, working together, which I kind of figured at some point would always happen with all the talking we've done.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, and it's been really great. You know, over the last year, Josh has been working with Car Biz Done Better in a consultative role, helping us look at a few different things. And Josh, what I've always liked about you, man, is your expertise in CRM. And I know before I move into it too far, Bernardi Auto Group, I'm trying to think, oh yeah, Dave Foy, right, Josh Sack? You and Dave Foy crossed paths back in the day there.
Yep.
Shout out to Dave Foy. Dave, we love you. We know that. I think Josh says you weren't a fan of his. Is that right? Do I have the story right, Josh?
Well, I was that salesperson that used to run over begging for my delivery to skip the line to get my customers in first. So I was a customer service guy, but I'm going to apologize to Dave here, because I know that I drove him and his team crazy trying to get my deliveries through first.
I think many people could say the same about me. I was the same way. It's the same reason I went out and bought all the detailers lunch, bought all the service guys lunch, so that I didn't even have to really think about it, right? I could just, build those relationships and then put the customer first. And I got a bad reputation within my store of putting the customer first, especially on the desk and all of that. But end of the day, I thought buying cars should always be simpler than it was, right? And so I always tried to make it as simple as possible. And I think that's a lot of what we try to do here at Car Biz. But anyways, we started with you and your CRM knowledge. Josh, talk to me about the concept, and it's one you talk about frequently, which is the managing from 60,000 feet. And I think a lot of people hear it and they think, oh yeah, sure, I already do that. But the reality is they probably don't. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about that philosophy?
Yeah. So when I was a sales manager at the desk, I had a lot going on. Every sales manager does. You have 30 different logins. You have all these different technologies. You have all these salespeople running around. You got a staff. You got to make sure the leads are responded to on time, phone calls, 1,000 different things, right? That you got to have your eyes on. I used to do all of that, and I was in the trenches, and I was driving myself crazy and burning myself out. And it took me getting to the point of where I was ready to quit, where I had some really good mentors at the Bernardi Auto Group, and quickly had to learn how to get up to 60,000 feet. And what I mean by that is really learning how to use the CRM. Doesn't matter which CRM. I have guys ask me all the time, which one's the best. There's some that have features that are better than others, but it comes down to using it and using it to get up to 60,000 feet. And here's an example is You don't need to look at everything in the CRM. You need to know what's going on throughout the day. You need to know where to look so you know what's going on with your showroom ups. You need to know what the response time is just by zooming down in and looking at how many phone ups have been logged for the day, if it's slow or if it's busy. Zooming in and looking at a high level response time on the dashboard, manager dashboard, of where the response times are, and then calling up to the BDC or down to your salesperson that had a 3-hour response time. Why did it happen? Not accusatory. It's just zooming in when you need to, but not trying to jump into every little thing that's going on, which is one reason why so many managers in the stores burn out, because they have so many things coming at them and they're not zooming into that ground level instead of staying up at 60,000 feet and going into that ground level when they need to.
Yeah. And I think, again, when sales managers look at their day, it's about moving metal. And we get that. We've lived that. We understand it. However, there is more to being a sales manager than penciling a deal. Because honestly, there's enough software around now that I can have salespeople pencil deals. I mean, I don't know what they'll look like, but honestly, I could get to that point. But my thing is, from a manager perspective, Josh, and I talked about this a few weeks ago on the podcast, who trains the manager to train the salespeople, to train the next salesperson, to train the next manager, right? So if the people at the GM or above level don't know how to use the tool, which we encounter daily,
all the time,
right? All the time. How do we make sure that our managers are trained appropriately so that they, assuming they're the ones responsible for training the salespeople, actually set things up correctly? Because how many times, Josh, have you gone to a client recently, opened up a CRM and gone, how did we get here?
Yeah. It's a big part of it is accountability, right? I have guys reach out to me, what's the magic bullet, right? Which CRM, which AI is the best? We need to get back to the basics. And we hear that terminology a lot, right? What does that actually mean? It means learning how to use the technology that we have. Because first off, if we don't know how to use it and it's costing us tens of thousands of dollars, let's get rid of it and find something that works better, or just go back to the Stone Age, right? And let's pencil deals. But it's about accountability, consistency, and process. Those are the things that are those are the things that are the secret sauce, is getting that set up first. And then if you want to sprinkle in AI for efficiencies and you want to sprinkle in some other technology to help you manage better, do that. But let's not try and find that silver bullet out there, which we're going to go to, I'm going to go to NADA. I'm going with one of the dealers that I work closely with. We're looking at all different products. But one of the first things we did is we made sure that in the store, the processes were all set in place. The managers knew from the general manager what their responsibilities were, what they had to do on a day-to-day basis. And then from there, we're going to bring some technology in to help them be more effective and more consistent. But also it's going to allow us to zoom in from that 60,000 foot view. Like, just a quick example, we got call recording software. Many dealers have it, very few use it. You don't need 1,000 alerts. For me personally, I want to know when a call was taken, there was no appointment set, a customer hung up on hold, or no appointment was requested. Now, that doesn't mean somebody did something wrong. It could be that $120,000 BMW that you're going to see once in a lifetime, or it got sold. That's the reason the salesperson did not invite that customer in. But I want to look at what's important. So if I'm getting those basic alerts, then I can deem what's important and call that salesperson up and have a conversation. How can I help? Where can I help you? Not accusatory, which happens way too often on the floor.
Look, if you guys haven't already gotten the vibe from Josh, he said non-accusatory more than once. You can hear it in his voice. The way that we approach things here at CarBiz from a training and inspection process leads with positivity. He and I both grew up in this industry in tough markets, Boston, Chicago. This is where people really have, the hardest lessons learned in the auto space, right? These big metros, because you're up against stiff competition. And this is where, folks, 98, we both started at the same time. This is pre-internet shit right now. I know that probably freaks most of you out, But this is where like standing out front, waiting for ups. Like I took internet leads so I could stop. You know, my manager came to me in 99 like, hey, there's this thing called Auto Trader. They're coming off the fax machine. Go figure this out, right? So you're like, saves me from being outside in Chicago in November, December, January. So yeah, I'll do that. And so it worked out. But again, Josh, having grown up like you have alongside internet, alongside technology, what's crazy to me is that the basics of what we learned at our foundation of selling cars in 1998 isn't any fucking different today. There's just a ton of weird technology and hiccups. I mean, I had a Rolodex. I enjoyed the Rolodex because it kept me in front of it. The one thing about a computer, Josh, and I want you to tell people how they can help with this. One thing about a computer is that it's hidden, Josh. I have to know where to go, right? My Rolodex was red, yellow, green. Done. I've got my answers. It's all there. How can folks, let's just use e-leads dealers as an example, right? Because I know there's many different CRMs, but we deal with a lot of e-leads dealers. How can folks, from a salesperson perspective, forget the managers for a second, how can salespeople keep their lives organized inside of CRM on a daily basis? What can they do, Josh?
Yeah, the biggest thing is number one, learn how to use it. There are so many resources. There's that, and just every CRM has this. You got your performance managers. Obviously, some are better than others. Some will tell me that my performance manager sucks. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to help you then. I don't want it. No excuses. Right. So the salespeople need to learn how to use the CRM. Simple as entering a phone up, entering a showroom up, looking for duplication so you don't get into fist fights with your peers where you're getting a skate deal alert, right? Because I think those are still out there. Yeah. Learning how to work your organizer, being consistent. That's the consistency thing. Get in the morning, see what calls you have to make for the day, right? And then get those calls done. Check in with your manager. Check out with your manager. If you can't close a deal, ask for help. And the managers should know when they need help because that's part of their accountability, right? And part of them holding the salespeople accountability. But just really that utilization of the CRM, understanding how to use it. If you come in to a dealership as a salesperson and you sit in a corner and wait for someone to show you how to do it, it's probably not going to work out. Mm-hmm. So you want to find salespeople. What I did, I found the best guy out there. I shadowed him. I listened to everybody else and I built a pitch of my own based upon what I heard from all the other salespeople, from the best to the worst. I learned what to do and what not to do.
Observation, by staying in the mix, seeing what's going on. Same way I learned. I mean, look, got in the car business, you were told basically, here's the key rack. Those are test drives. There's the brochure rack. By the way, yes, people, pounds and pounds, hundreds of pounds of brochures. Part of the research, part of what we had to do then. All right. So we know we have some salespeople feedback there, working, waiting, not sitting around, be proactive. So then CRM in mind, what do managers do to help manage salespeople and their process in CRM? What can they do, Josh, to be better at that part of it?
Get into and you're going to hear this term from me a lot, get into a consistent process, right? Come in the morning. And I think we have a list that we've given to dealers and we don't just hand it to them. We talk through how they're going to accomplish that. And we've even done some video trainings, right? Where you come in the morning, you look at who you have staffed for the day. You look at the ups from the day before. I love seeing sales managers get in and call the desk log from the day before. Some of them wait for the BDC to do it. Just get in and call. If there was some opportunity there, go for it. Sometimes all it takes is a call from a manager thanking them and taking that next step, right? So knowing the answers to the questions before you ask your salespeople. And here's an example of that. This is from our organizer training, right? Salesperson organizer training. You look at the salesperson to organizer. I used to like to do this one at a time. I'm calling them up to the desk. Hey, Phil, how many tasks do you have for today? And if I get the deer in the headlights, right? Shame on me. Phil doesn't know he should be looking at it. The first couple of times we do it, right? What I want to get to the point of is where Phil says, before I'm even asking the question, hey, I got 40. And you know what, boss? I'm going to get 35 to 40 of them done Great, Phil. Perfect. Check out with me at the end of the day, right? That's my check-in, check-out thing at the desk, where at the end of the day, I want Phil coming to me and saying, hey, Josh, I got 40. I want him feeling good about it, right? This is all the stuff that managers need to do more of, is being in touch with what's going on in the day-to-day, and just realizing, looking at your desk log, this salesperson's been on the floor with this customer on a test drive for 2 hours and it's not closed out and he hasn't touched the desk. Does the customer have a trade? I got one piece of information, a name and a phone number, no email address, no details in there. I'm going to call that guy up to the desk, right? I'm going to call him up and find out what's going on, ask him if he needs any help. And if he broomed him, I'm not going to blast him the first time, right? Because we all know that happens. I'm not going to give him the 2 week to ask for the deal. I'm going to ask what happened. I'm going to let him know that that's not acceptable. And I'm going to reinforce the process that we talked about. So the most important part here is set those processes and the accountability and what you expect of those salespeople as a sales manager before they are starting out on the floor, if anything.
Expectations is huge. I don't think enough people really take that to heart the way they should. I think a lot of people think, yeah, we can just say it. No. We have to say it, keep saying it. Part of what we do, obviously is the ongoing inspection, right? So part of the CRM Done Better offer is the idea of weekly inspection, weekly assistance, because we all know people get busy. Josh, why don't you share with folks some of the things you've seen come back to you on those weekly emails, whether it be managers, owners, salespeople, whatever it is that you've heard. Give us some feedback on those weekly emails and the value people find from those.
Yeah, and you tell the dealers this when they sign up for the CRM Done Better program, when we send these weekly emails, is Josh loves engagement, right? So when we get these emails out, if they respond back with a question or getting their team pumped up, that is what I live for, right? Yeah. So I see managers respond back over our email and let the team, I can tell they read through the email. They're looking at us telling them that the response time was a bit higher this week. Their lead volume was down or their lead volume was up. Internet leads, calls, walk-in traffic. Maybe they closed 20% where they were last week closing 50%. We're giving a week over week. And when I see a manager or a GM, and sometimes the owners that we work with, which I absolutely love them getting into the day-to-day, but at that 60,000 foot view, right? Zooming in when they need to, leading by example. What they'll do is they'll respond back and say, hey, let's attack the response time. Let's check on this regularly, managers. And then at the bottom of that email, we send 10 opportunities, right? And I don't call them mistakes. Some guys would say misses, right? No. It can be anything. For everything's an opportunity, right? It could be anything from the husband was bringing the wife back, and that didn't happen. We see that in the CRM, and there's no follow-up from there. We don't say no follow-up. We say the husband was supposed to bring the wife back yesterday, or the customer was bringing in $1,500 for the down payment, or customer was asking if they could find out what happened with their approval, and I don't see a response back. There's a little bit longer internet response time this week than last week. So we have managers come back and say, hey guys, let's dive into these opportunities. I've even had BDC directors. There's one or two that come to mind that say, I love it. We're all over these. We're going to grab these and we're going to sell cars today. But I have had guys text me on the side and say, we found 2 deals this week, just from a couple of those opportunities. That's 40 a month when you have 4 weeks. So we do 4 weeks in the month. We're sending 4 emails once a week on whatever day they choose. And that's 40 additional opportunities that they have to pick from.
And that's what I want to touch on too, is that, when we first started this, I really thought that over time, dealers that list would be lessened, right? There would be 4 or 5 or whatever. We've been after this now over a year. Yep. Proudly to say 0 cancellations in 1 year of this product because it's that badass. But more importantly, Josh, does it surprise you that those lists don't change size?
No. And, here's why. Because like I was saying before, I'm very empathetic with dealers these days because of everything they have to pay attention to and because of all the management of all the different departments from the top down. So they, even some of the best dealers that are the most engaged, that are closing at an 18 to 22% on internet and almost like a 45% on the phones, they still have that opportunity there. It just takes somebody digging a little bit further. Now, is it harder for us to find? It is. Does it make our job a little bit harder to dig in? Because some dealers, we look, oh, wow, there's like 10 opportunities within the first 20 people we looked at. Great. It makes it easier. But I love when I have to dig in deeper, or our team has to dig in deeper to find these opportunities, because it means that they're getting better. But it's as simple as like somebody was responding, going back and forth, and the customer said, you know what? I'm going to be gone for a couple of days. I'll come back. I make a note of that one week, or one of our guys makes a note of that. And we look to see if there was follow-up after that. And it's not a, hey, you didn't follow up. Hey, looks like this customer just came back from vacation. Let's shoot them a text message, because that was the way they were communicating with us before. Not saying not to call, but we look at everything, because if you're communicating a certain way with a customer, go back and start that way. Doesn't mean you can't make the call or send an email, but go back to what was most convenient for the customer.
Find the customer where they're at, man, and use their mode of communication. Don't try to change it. People are like, oh, I can't email the customer 100 times. Sure you can. Sure you can. If that's what they're comfortable with doing, don't tell them to call you. That's lame. That's not helpful. Like, if you want to help the customer through that. Shout out to the CRM team, though. We have some of the best humans on earth on this team. And that brings us to a slight announcement here. That team actually has a brand new official leader to that team. Josh Sack, do you want to tell the people who the new director of CRM Done Better is?
Yeah, that's going to be me. I'm going to be leading that team. I'll, you know what, Sean, you gave me this hat. I
gave you that hat probably 2018, Orlando, Florida, when I had you live on the podcast. Actually, it was you.
And it still fits, so my head has not gotten that much bigger.
Well, that is a beautiful hat. I still wear mine. I love mine. Look, folks, here's the thing. Josh is joining the team. He is an incredible asset to us. But more importantly, because I don't get out in the public ever, I come out in public once a year for being social in Madison. Josh, tell the people where you're going to be here coming up so they can go find that hat and talk to you more about what's happening over here at CRM Done Better.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be out and about at NADA. I will be out there with one of my dealers looking at different technologies. So if you see me out there, I know a lot of people out there. We have a lot of the same group connections, but please come say hello. If you have any questions about the CRM Done Better, I'm more than happy to help. And if you just want to pick my brain on something, Sean, we started this part of the business by just helping dealers for free. And that's kind of what I started doing when I left my more retail positions. And then it just started to become a business, because I actually had a guy at one point say to me, you know what? I feel really bad. You've been helping me for so long. I think it's time you started charging me. And I was like, you know what? We can make a business out of this.
Yeah. And that is exactly what we did. It started off as an idea of just supporting dealers, and it continues to grow and change and evolve into, it's weekly help, it's support, it's training, it's ongoing, it's being there. Maybe when your performance managers aren't the best, we have been able to help with that. And it's the way it came together is so cool. Basically, Josh was on his own, doing his own thing. A client of mine asked me if I still offered a service I'd offered 8 years ago. I told him I didn't. He said, if it ever happens, let me know. A week later, Josh called me and said, hey, I'm thinking about getting back into things. I'm thinking about doing this. And his work aligned with the client. That was over probably like 15 months ago. So, Josh, we're so happy to have you, man. You are such a value to not only us, but the entire industry, dude. So keep it up, and thank you so much for all you do.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's been fun, and it's going to be a lot more fun moving forward.
That's right, baby. We're going to keep doing it and do it better, as the name implies. Folks, if you don't know Josh, you can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him, just text on this chain. If you see this and you're like, I want to talk to Josh, he'll reach out. We're here for that. So thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll do it all again next